but she's right there in your home, and the evil is growing and she is changing, and that to me is really powerful when it comes to building dread and trying to create like a really engaging creep fest.
And for me, that was where the kind of dramatic tension of the film lay. So that's a good vehicle for a lot of really gory horror and jump scares and all that shit we see in the movie.
Te contamos grandes historias.
How are you, Lee? It's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you very much. And I wanted to ask you because I feel like this version of the Mummy is like nothing else. So I wanted to ask you, why did you wanted to do a movie about a setting about a family, but not an adventurous gross film? So
Yeah.
why did you wanted to do that?
I think it was a really interesting opportunity to make something original and fresh. I think that's what's fun about bringing the movie out to the world now is people realize, oh my God, this really is something different. And I always like to have a strong bit of drama in my movie. So it was a great opportunity to tell a family drama a story about people that have suffered a great loss and then are offered the opportunity to return from all that grief, but then actually things kind of get worse, which I thought was interesting for a horror movie. And yeah, and I thought, you know what, mummies aren't just from movies. Mummies are part of culture, you know, and they're real. And I'm always interested in things that are secret or buried because there's a chance for me to play around with that and create some interesting lore and tell a creepy tale.
Yeah, for sure. And one of the main aspects that I like of this movie is that the figure of the daughter is very unsettling because it challenges also the innocence of a child. So
Yeah.
why do you wanted to explore that particular thing about in this film?
Yeah, one of the things that was kind of interesting as well to me was that when Katie goes missing, she's 9 years old, and 8 years later, she's 17. So even if there was no horror in the story, in some respects, it's an unfamiliar person returning to their world because it was a very innocent young girl, and now she's a young woman. And to me, that was just an interesting thought, full stop. You know, even if there was no supernatural and no lore, like how would a family react to that? How would they reintegrate? But then being able to bring the myth, being able to bring the supernatural, being able to bring those darker things to it, allowed me to take. And what is interesting is, you know, she's not 10 feet tall, and she's not, she's not, chasing you through a desert, but she's right there in your home, and the evil is growing, and she is changing, and that to me is really powerful when it comes to building dread and trying to create like a really engaging creep fest.
I have to say that I've been watching all your evolution as an actor, and I think that this one is the most complex character that I like about your career.
Okay, cool.
So I wanted to ask you, it's very unsettling that someone who you love is getting back, but I think it's even more struggling knowing that they are not the same person that they used to be. So how did you manage those feelings in your character?
Yeah, I mean, that was kind of the first conversation I had with Lee, which was that I felt Charlie is somebody who's really struggling with the responsibility of fatherhood right at the very beginning of the movie. And that when his daughter gets kidnapped and taken away, for Charlie, it fulfills all of the terrible fears that he had and confirms the fact for him that he was never probably meant to be a father in the first place. And when she comes back 8 years later and is completely changed, he has to grapple with the guilt and has to grapple with this understanding that he has that like he just wasn't cut out to be a father to begin with. And for me, that was where the kind of dramatic tension of the film lay. So that's a good vehicle for a lot of really gory horror and jump scares and all that shit we see in the movie.
Yeah, and I also think that this is about grief and pain and all the denial of getting someone that you used to know, but now is not the same person. So
Yeah.
how all your characters in matter of writing, of course, struggle with those feelings, because I feel like that is a very deep and profound thing to
Yeah.
cover.
Yeah, and it's an important thing because without those characters and that thematic weight, none of the horror actually matters at all. Then it's just a bunch of technical gags that you're putting on screen. And for me, there always has to be something to make a movie. You've got to be able to talk with your actors and talk about who they are and why they are there. And one of the things that compelled me towards it was that if you were a couple and a child went missing or a child was kidnapped, where would the burden of responsibility fall? Who would feel more guilt? Should you feel more guilt? Was it your fault? Was it my fault? Could I have done something different? And that was interesting because actually the return of Katie creates some sort of divide between this couple. They start to go in different directions in terms of their belief or what they think the right way to react is. And again, even if there was no monster, that can happen within a relationship. This family have held together while Katie's been missing, and now she's brought home, and they're starting to fall apart. But that's metaphorical value, and it's part of the story. But then on top of that, this monster is there because it wants to devour the family. This evil is, that's what it does. That's its modus operandi.
Me pareció que esta es una película, creo que de las más difíciles que he tenido que digerir en mucho tiempo, entonces no sé si agradecerles o odiarlas por eso un poco, pero qué increíble experiencia. ¿Ustedes creen que el amor es una, un buen escudo para, pues, quitarnos un poco esa culpa que cargan todos estos personajes en la película?
Mi personaje, una de las principales cosas que tiene es que es un personaje increíblemente amoroso con su familia y ella se agarra del amor para todo, ¿sabes? Para todo, del amor y de su fe. Entonces, en el caso de mi personaje, no hay culpa en ese sentido, no hay esa culpa. Ella realmente lo único que trata es de contener, de apoyar a su familia y de luchar con cualquier cosa que le toque luchar para tratar de salvarlos, incluyendo el humor.
Sí, bueno, yo creo que el amor es un motor para todo, pero en este caso concreto me parece que hay una cosa que yo investigué al principio del proceso creativo y es qué pasa con las parejas que o se les muere un hijo o lo pierden. Y me sorprendió mucho un dato que dice que el 70% siguen juntos, porque en mi cabeza lo más normal es que ya no estuvieran juntos estos dos después de una desgracia tan grande. Y el dolor es lo que mantiene unida a esta pareja.
Mhm.
Justamente el dolor honesto. Aunque lo vivan diferente y la culpa es diferente y lo gestionen diferente, pero tienen dos hijos más, pero es que han tenido un hijo después de Katie también. O sea, hay algo que en la desgracia se une también esta familia. Y yo creo que cuando arrancamos, después de la desaparición de Katie, ahí se ve la diferencia donde esta familia desde el dolor han seguido unidos. Me parece que la abuela es como un gran punto de apoyo para, sobre todo para Larissa. Pero los cinco elementos de la familia, desde la desgracia, se mantienen unidos. Y obviamente si no hay el amor, no se sostiene, ¿no? De ninguna manera. Me ha sorprendido mucho la pregunta viniendo de esta película, pero sí es totalmente cierto, ¿no? El amor es el sustento del proceso emocional.
Yeah, I mean, I think it has to be a key component in any family dynamic, right? You know, um, I think uh, I think at the end of the day, we all have like different ways of loving people, and it's a very personal thing, like what that means to everybody. But yeah, it's in many respects the most important part of being a family member, right? It's just how you show it might be different from someone else.
About the guild, he also is a reporter, so the truth is very important to him, and it's very important in this aspect of his child.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I feel like he has a feeling about I don't know, like he can handle the truth about his own daughter. So how do you feel with this situation? Do you feel like you could do the same things that Charlie does
Well,
within the life of his child.
it's an interesting one. I think, you know, Charlie, while Larissa is trying to fix Katie and she's trying to just move forward with their life, Charlie goes on this journey to get to the bottom of what happened. And I think that's partly because he feels a burning need to know, but that's a further extension also of his lack of capacity to really be a father, you know? Like, he's still not really providing his daughter with the care that she needs. He's just trying to figure out what the story is and get to the bottom of it. And so, again, that tension is always there where Charlie is grappling with his responsibilities as a father. And I don't think he ever really gets to a place where he feels like he's fulfilled it. Um, I don't know, honestly, man, it's a hard one to say. I'm not a father yet. Hopefully I will be someday. But you know, it's very difficult to see how if you ever went through this some kind of trauma like a child being kidnapped, wow, I mean that's the scariest thing of all, you know. Like, yes, we have all of our supernatural horror beats in this movie, but I think the scariest thing in this movie for audience is going to be, you know, dealing with that idea that like as a parent your child would be kidnapped and you wouldn't see them again.
Lee, thank you very much for this interview. I love and I also hate the movie, so thanks for that and no thanks for that. But it's very good to finally meet you. It's very good the movie and hope it goes well in the cinemas. Thank you very
Thank you so
much.
much. Thanks a lot, dude. All the best.
Te contamos grandes historias.